Welcome to the Make Your Mark podcast. Hey everyone, I'm Mark Moyer, author of Win Again, speaker, career coach, and business advisor. And I help athletes, executives, and entrepreneurs reach their fullest potential. What you're going to be hearing in every single episode are conversations with athletes and other sports-related influencers. And we'll be offering you the insight that you need to succeed in life, including advice that will let you jump past your competition, whether it be for a great new job or taking your business to a much, much higher level. Make sure to connect with me on social media at Mark Moyer Coach and go to my website, markmoyer.com, to get access to the tips and strategies that my coaching clients get directly. If you're looking for ways to make your mark, send me an email to mark@markmoyer.com and I'll get you going right away. Thanks for joining me today. It's going to be an awesome episode. Now, are you ready to make your mark? Let's do this. Welcome to the Make Your Mark podcast. My name is Mark Moyer and I'm broadcasting to you live from New York City. Super excited to have you on board. If you're listening here in New York, great. Anywhere else in the United States or on a great big giant planet of ours, thanks for being here. And just finished chatting with Jack Schram. And Jack is a guy who played hockey growing up. He was an amazing hockey player, but then he switched into a new professional sport. Wait till you hear what it is. He also started a company a couple years ago all about helping athletes and others recover super fast. It's a great company. Wait till you hear all about it. But before you do, make sure you go onto my website anytime, markmoyer.com, for access to all the previous episodes. We've had so many great guests on the Make Your Mark podcast and lots of great content about how to take your career to a whole new level. And go to tacklewhatsnext.com. You have to go there and have access to the Tackle What's Next Academy. It's a great destination for any athlete making a transition and who really needs to learn and be educated in a whole wide variety of areas. You got to check that out. But before I delay even further, check out this episode of the Make Your Mark podcast with Jack Schram. Happy listening. Welcome to the Make Your Mark podcast. I am Mark Moyer and I'm super duper thrilled to have with me Jack Schram. Now, Jack is, I'm going to call him a Renaissance athlete. I don't know why, because I don't even know what that means. But he's like a guy who's not only athletic and athlete background, but he's an entrepreneur. And he's got a great product that I can't wait for us to talk about. Welcome to the show, Jack.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And, you know, I know that, you travel a ton because of your sport and so forth. But, hey, man, we're in the holidays now. It's Thanksgiving. And you're back home in Jersey.
Just for a couple of weeks, then the season starts back up. So going to be on the road very soon here.
And we're gonna talk about what specific season that is in a second, and I'm excited to talk about that, honestly. But before that, give me a little bit of a background. I'd like to hear about sort of where you grew up and where you went to school, and really some of the sports you were playing as you were growing up.
Born in Toronto, Canada, and as soon as you can walk up there, they pretty much put skates on you. So I've been skating or playing hockey since I was about 2 years old. And then I moved to Indiana when I was about 5 or 6. I grew up there and then played hockey growing up. I played a lot of sports growing up, but at one point my dad kind of said, like, you need to pick one and focus on one. And it was an easy decision to go with hockey. So I played competitively all growing up. Then I moved to Jersey when I was 18. I went to Rutgers University, played there. And then
well, wait, so at Rutgers, was it because, and don't take this the wrong way, but they're not necessarily known as the hotbed of hockey, right? What was the caliber of hockey there like, and did you get some sort of a scholarship, or what was that like?
No, it's kind of interesting. I kind of got brainwashed or got this idea in my head that I think we spoke about this earlier, that all roads lead to men's league. And so I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to go to college and, play hockey there instead of going to juniors and, trying to get a scholarship, go play NCAA. But so I just went to Rutgers. They had a Division I club team, and I decided to study finance there and had a really great time in school playing hockey and all that. So
now, at what point did you find that, when you were in college, you're playing club hockey and so forth, but you were also studying finance. Was there while you were in school, were you thinking about, well, gee, this is what I'm going to do when I graduate? Or, I mean, because look, most people, they sort of think that they do that. And then the minute they graduate, they're often running into something completely different. What was your experience like?
I was always interested in health and fitness, and for my youth hockey team, we had this trainer, and I kind of was like, man, this guy's got a cool job. He trains the local college, trains athletes and stuff like that, and I want to be in this field. And he kind of told me, all these, jobs are really hard to get. It's really competitive, and like I would recommend maybe pursuing something else, like business or something like that. And this is also before like Instagram and the internet, so like that pretty much changed everything. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go and get study finance at school, try to get into business school there, and then afterwards maybe I kind of had dreams of doing the Wall Street thing. And so I did that. Graduated, I got what I thought was my dream job. I was trading futures markets and crude oil like right out of college, from an internship that I got in college, on the New York Mercantile Exchange trading floor, and just kind of fell in love with that whole industry. But then after a while, I decided this wasn't. I couldn't see myself doing this, very long term. And then I got into sales after that, and then it's funny, just kind of went back to what I would like to do as a kid. I'm like, I wanted to get back into the fitness industry, and I just figured life is too short not to be chasing your passions, and I shouldn't let fear of anything or what might not work out hold me back from pursuing something.
Right. And so what's interesting is that I got a kick out of what you wrote on your LinkedIn page, because you say fail fast, succeed faster. Tell me a little bit about I mean, some of the things that you were doing as an entrepreneur that kind of ended up. I mean, well, I'll jump into the ice cross and so forth in a minute, but tell me a little bit about some of the things you started to do back then.
I've always had the entrepreneur bug. My grandfather was an entrepreneur, and I think that really rubbed off on me and kind of made me see and realize that, hey, that if I wanted to go down this path, that it was possible, because he kind of has a rags to riches story himself. Anyways, yeah, actually that fail fast, succeed faster quote I got from, I used to do some startup competitions, and I started like as a kid, like with the lemonade stand, when I was like, I can't even remember what age, but as a kid. And then I started like getting jobs around the neighborhood. This guy would mow all the lawns in our neighborhood, and so he would do it with a sit down lawnmower. And if there was a big like stick or branch, he would have to get up off his rider mower, take that, put it to the side and then keep mowing. So I said, I made a deal with him that, actually me and my sister made a deal with him that we would pick up like all the big branches on all the lawns, and we'd fill up like a grocery bag full of these sticks. And I forget how much he gave. It wasn't a lot. It might have been like $1 a bag or something like that. But
I
so
love it.
yeah, so that's kind of like, yeah, that's kind of
What's
how it started. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, what's funny is that I may have been that guy in the neighborhood cutting lawns, but I never had the rider mower. I was cutting all the neighborhood lawns with a push mower.
Yeah.
But my attitude was usually, well, I'm just gonna run this thing over, see what happens. I was not maybe the brightest lawnmower guy, but it was that's a lot of work. But it's great. Look, when you're that age, and you're already starting with that entrepreneurial spirit, the bug, like you said. I mean, it's great because it really sets the stage for bigger things down the road. So great story. I love that though, that the $1 for a bag of sticks. That's awesome. I love that. That's
Yeah.
great. Did you do some sort of things like in high school and in college to like side hustles kind of stuff?
Yeah, for sure. And I always kind of had ideas brewing. So, some businesses and ideas that I start didn't even go further than me getting the email and all the handles on
Uh-huh.
social media. Um, I had this one, and I was still kind of actually working on this one. About like a hockey stick wax company, and that one I haven't done. And yeah, I mean, like a couple like mobile apps and stuff like that, but it was always like my side hustle and hobbies and stuff like that. Yeah, it's kind of, developed into what I'm doing now, I guess, and all the
Yeah.
lessons that I've learned,
Well,
failures that
well,
I've learned.
let's look. Let's jump into. I mean, so Red Bull is a big part of your life. Why don't we just put it that way? But tell me, how on earth did you get involved with ice cross? And do me a favor and sort of describe it, if you could, to the audience that may not know about it.
Yeah, for sure. So right now I'm competing in ice cross downhill, which is a sport that Red Bull invented 18 years ago. And it's essentially a 4-man race downhill on ice skates. If you can visualize something like motocross, but downhill and on ice skates, it's like that. It's not straight downhill. It's got jumps, hairpin turns, and a lot of crashes. And they clock us at around like 50 miles an hour. So it's a lot of fun. And I saw it on TV growing up, and I think every hockey player, when they see this, they're like, oh man, like I got to do that. That looks so much fun. But it was also like during the hockey season. So I think a lot of people like playing competitively might be like, all right, maybe not going to throw myself down this hill, like, and
Yeah.
risk being out
Right.
the rest of the hockey season. So, but yeah, I mean, it was just kind of always in the back of my mind. And after I graduated college, Hot Road leads the men's league. Here I am playing men's league, and it just wasn't doing it for me. There was a big void in my life, and I definitely like fell into like a lot of partying, like, and I was just like, yo, I need to compete again. So I ended up like kind of researching, how to get into the sport, and I found out that there were qualifiers for these big main events, and but you couldn't just qualify. There's actually a lottery, and if your name got picked, then you're allowed to qualify. So I put my name in the hat, and then around this time, when the lottery drawing went, my name didn't get picked, and I was like, oh man, this is bad. So I don't know how I ended up like finding one of the coordinators like phone numbers or email or something like that, and I called her like randomly. I think it might have been on like New Year's Eve or something like that. And I was just like, listen, I was like, my name's Jack. Like, my name didn't get picked in the lottery. I really want to do this. Is there any chance that you can get me in? Like, I'll do anything. And she was like, I'm not supposed to be doing this, but there's a spot opened up. There's one in 3 days. Can you make it? And I was like, yes. So I just hopped on a flight. And then I ended up winning the qualifier, and then that was I'm now entering my 6th or 7th season. So
Wow. So what's the when you go down the course with the three other guys? You're not allowed to bump, but there's obviously a lot of contact, right? Or how's that work?
yeah, so incidental contact is allowed, but it's not advantageous for you to do because there's 4 men going downhill. So if you two make contact, it slows you two down, and the other two can pass. So yeah, and if you go out of your way to make contact with someone or check them or take them down, you get disqualified, and then you can't go on to the next race.
Got it. I'm assuming give me a sense of how many people are performing, like, or how many of the racers are there for each race? I mean, how many people start?
Around 100, I'd say.
Wow.
Yeah, around 100 athletes. I think in
And
Finland
then,
we had like
so
100.
then, so it keeps on going from 100 to, 50 to 20. I mean, they keep on narrowing down the thing to the final 4 kind of a thing.
The competition is a couple days long. You get there, everyone does time trials, and then they take the top 64 guys in those time trials, and they seed
Okay.
them in a bracket style format, just like the NCAA basketball tournament,
Uh-huh.
and it's elimination all from there. So the first 2 guys over the finish line get to advance to the next round until there's a final heat of 4 guys.
Got it. And I'm not suggesting that it's not exhausting or something, but is it something that's more exhausting getting down the course, or is it something where you could do 10 or 15 runs if you needed to?
It definitely no, it's pretty exhausting. I mean, especially if you do make it to the if you do make it further in the competition, you're competing. the time in between you have to rest and your races get shorter and shorter. So if you're in the final heat, you can watch like the guys' interviews after. They're huffing and puffing. Some of them can't even get like words out when they try to interview them at the finish line. So it's
Now, in terms of time, how long does it take to get down the course typically?
it'll take anywhere from, I mean, I guess a good range, depends on the course, but 35 to 40 seconds. So
Obviously, you've gotten to know these guys pretty well. Is it something where some of them do certain moves or strategies or something? You get to know, oh, well, that Bob's going to do this now at this turn. I know him, so I'm going to do that to counter it, or how's that?
yeah, for sure. I mean, we all travel together every weekend to a new country. We're just like a big dysfunctional family, and you get to know the guys, their personalities, and their styles. And a lot of their styles are kind of based on their background, sports background. Some guys are primarily come from a downhill skiing background. Some guys are strictly hockey guys. And so you start understanding, yeah, this guy will probably jump on here, or like a big thing is like, are you gonna like pump or jump this feature? So um, you definitely get to know the guys, but the more I do this sport, the more I just can't try to concentrate on my own race and my own line.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start, kind of going down that road, like this guy might do this guy might do that. It's just, I don't know. You're just coming up with things that may or may not happen. And I think it's just better to stay focused on what you're going to do in the race. And I think that goes kind of in life also.
Yeah.
You have all these, external things going on, and you just got to concentrate on what you're doing in your path, and not let other things dictate where you're going to go too much.
That's an amazing point, because one of the things that I talk about all the time, Jack, is the whole idea of being proactive, not reactive. And in my case, it's oftentimes when I'm talking to somebody about whether it's getting a new job or growing their business, a lot of times people react to what the market is feeding them and telling them, and it's not always in their own best interest. But instead, I turn it around and say, look, be proactive. You dictate the market. You dictate how you want to grow your business. You dictate how you look for another job. But it's the same thing with any sort of sport, where instead of necessarily, in your case, as you said, if you spend so much time worrying about what the other people are going to do, your performance is going to go down. But if you, as you said, you focus on your own race, you focus on your own line, you control what you can control, the rest will take care of itself, hopefully, right?
I would agree.
I mean, I've watched some I've watched some X Games and some other stuff in the past, but not a ton. But it does seem like every single sport is a blast. I see snowmobiles doing flips. I see all kinds of crazy stuff, and I'm like, oh my God. But then I also think they're crazy. I mean, all these athletes are absolutely insane. But that's the fun of it, right? But in terms of things like supporting yourselves and prize money and so forth, I mean, this isn't the NFL or NBA or something. So how do you guys, where does an income come from? Is it clearly sponsor stuff? Is it event revenue? Is it you guys eat a lot of like, McDonald's or whatever? How's the league supported?
The money we do make in the sport is all performance based. The higher you place in these races, the more money you get, but it's not enough to make a living on. And so every athlete I know has got another job and is really grinding to make it happen, and doing that sponsorship grind to get in. I don't really know. I know that most guys are breaking even, or probably not even breaking even by the end of the season. Definitely some costly travel in there. And yeah, I mean, it's, when you're passionate about something, you do whatever it takes to make it happen.
Now, do you think, though, is there a way that Red Bull, et cetera, can make it so that it's a little bit more financially advantageous for you guys? I mean, is there a way that, whether it's increased TV exposure, if it's greater earnings on site, is there a way, or is it still just such a gap that you guys all need to do something else to keep going?
I always think there's a solution to every problem. It's
Well, I mean,
we're
like
still young, and we're young
yeah.
sport, still trying to figure it out. So
Yeah, that's cool. It's funny. There's a guy I met recently who's got a new form, a new sport that he wants to put out there. I think it's called, he's going to kill me for forgetting the name of it, but I think it's something like extreme tennis. And it's pretty wild. I'm telling
tell
you,
me about this.
you have heard of it or
No,
not?
no, tell me
Oh
about it.
my God. So this is a riot. So basically it's a smaller tennis court. And while you're trying to hit the ball to the other person, there's like all these things that are being thrown at you. You have to dodge like this big giant wrecking ball looking thing while you're hitting a tennis ball. There's someone trying to tackle you. Like it's crazy how this guy's combined. It's a court that's got
Sounds like
like
one of those Japanese like extreme challenge.
well, right, most extreme MXC, right? That all those it's oh my God, it was. If you look at the promo video, you're like, wow, this looks pretty wild. I was telling him, oh, we should talk to the people at the U.S. Open, he goes, no, all those tennis people hate me because it's basically, it's for the MTV, not the MTV general, but the Red Bull, the X Sports kind of generation. They all want to do this. It looks crazy. You're up there smacking a tennis ball while like dodging all these things. Like you had one thing where there's like giant truck tires like rolling rolling through, and you're trying to get around it while you're hitting a ball. So there's a lot of new sports that are trying to come out that I don't want to say try to cater to the, let's say, millennial or the younger generations, but they have to, because the reality is that, I mean, look, one thing I'll point out is kids, especially teens now, they're not necessarily interested in going to a baseball game and sitting there for 3 hours, and it's just the way things are now. It's just there's not enough things action, right? So now what we're finding, and I know that a lot of these games are being consumed in highlight form, or NFL games. People fast forward to certain parts, and so sports in general need to be much more action, much faster. Rugby sevens is a much faster game, and the matches take a lot less time than the regular rugby 15s. So I think that's the direction we're going. So that's why I think that there could be a lot of upside to your sport, because it's I mean, I've seen it. Looks pretty damn exciting, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the popularity of like baseball and football and all those other sports will, I think the love for those sports will always be there, and fans will always love, live sports are always great, so they'll always love going to those games and stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely think people's attention spans are getting getting at a smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
Just and the thing we're trying to do with the sport is bring it to the Winter Olympics, and I'm very
Yeah.
confident that right out of the gate it'll be the most watched sport in Winter Olympics. And I think it's because it's quick. Like I said, the races are usually only 35 to 40 seconds. It's easy to understand, and it's got a lot of action. So I think that's a great combination.
Well, back in the medieval days when they had the guy that would swing the whole thing with a chain on the end and that iron ball with the spikes on it. I think it's called a
Yeah,
truncheon, maybe.
I'm not
I
sure.
think if you added that to the sport, where you could, maybe
Well,
not.
I think like we're definitely trying to create something that fans will enjoy watching. But when you start adding like too much stuff, maybe it gets too gimmicky, and it doesn't like seem like a real sport. The really only thing that we kind of had that we thought it was a little gimmicky, but it actually ended up being an interesting part of the races, was at one of the turns. Instead, they usually have tires at the turns or just boards. At one of the turns, they actually had this heavy bag, like boxing heavy bag, like a punching bag,
Uh-huh.
and it was on a chain, so it actually
Oh,
swung. And some guys took some gnarly hits on it, but it just added this extra element, because there's four guys going into the turn, and if the first two guys bump it, then the second two guys going into that turn were actually trying to avoid a moving target, which but so that was pretty fun. That was out of
wait
the
a
way.
minute. So is there, there's no flamethrower? No?
No, sorry, that was Edmonton. No flamethrower. We're not jumping through. we're not jumping through any fire yet. That's for sure. But actually, one
But
of the
that's great.
did have a gap, like a gap in between one of the jumps where it wasn't ice on, so you fell in there, and that would have been pretty gnarly.
Yes, that would be. So let's switch gears now because, one of the things that, as you said, keeping you busy otherwise, and especially hopefully financially as well. But so tell me a little bit now about Rooted Athlete, your company, and really what got you started in it?
At some point in my life, I just kind of realized that life is too short not to be chasing your passions. And this was kind of around the time I read the book, The Alchemist, which I would really recommend to anybody. But I just read it at the right time. So being that I had the entrepreneur bug, I always kind of wanted to start a fitness product company. And I was in Austin, Texas at the time. And we ended up starting off, I started a company with my buddy called Rooted Athlete. And we started off in natural deodorant that actually works was our slogan. Just kind of, when I was down in Austin, which is a big natural products community, I was switching all my products over to all natural. And I noticed that, that everything was an easy switch except for natural deodorant. I couldn't find one that worked. So I became kind of pretty passionate about the problem and wanted to solve it. So we started off as a natural deodorant company in 2015. And now we're into CBD, got a lot of CBD products. Our pain rub is probably our most popular product. And we're also into tinctures, and it's just, it's exciting times in the CBD and cannabis industry. So it's just been it's been so fun and exciting and terrifying at the same time. And it's just, I feel that, this is the right path that I'm meant to be on. So.
Well, that CBD space and the cannabis space is getting pretty crowded, and there's a lot of competition because I think a lot of people see that it can be, a few different things. One is it's not completely overly well regulated right now, and number two is, the amount of money that can be made is pretty dramatic if you hit it all right. But tell me a little bit about how can you guys stand out now amongst all the noise in this space? I mean, what is it about your product that you feel so strongly about?
Right. I knew that I'm very strict with what I put on and into my body. And so when I started this company, I told myself that I'm not going to deliver a product that I didn't think was the best in the world. And what makes us different with our CBD is our extraction process. Most people are using heat and ethanol extractions, but we're 100% cold pressed CBD, and we just passed our USDA certified organic certification. So I'd say, our cold pressed extraction and our organic certification is really what makes us stand out amongst the rest. So nothing added. Sorry, go ahead.
Why is the cold press important?
Sometimes with the heat, you lose a lot of the life force of the plant, and also with ethanol, you kind of get the byproducts of ethanol in there. I'm confident that when people taste or use our product, they notice the difference immediately. There's nothing added, no chemicals or pesticides added during farming, nothing lost during extraction, just 100% cold pressed CBD, just as nature intended it.
Did nature intend it all along? I guess so, right? Now, it just took a
really
while for people to figure it out.
Yeah, it's really powerful stuff. People have figured it out. It's just, I think, like, as a society, we got taught that to be afraid of this plant, and as people, have tried it, they realize, that it's really a powerful medicine.
Well, I think everybody's, or a lot of people's impression out there is Cheech and Chong in a big, bus filled with smoke. And so I think there's, you're right, it's a societal thing where there's a lot of reluctance for people to go from Cheech and Chong to how it's really helping people physically and mentally and so forth. Now, but walk me through, let's say, what type of injury or, ache or pain or something, if I had it, do you feel that the oil would work on pretty well, and how soon would I see results from it?
our product, especially the 600 milligram pain stick, is pretty much instant. I sell them a lot at these fairs, and when I tell people come, they're like, "Oh, my neck hurts, my knee," and I tell them put it on right now, take a lap, and 10 out of 10 people always come back. So it's pretty powerful, and it really can be used for any aches and pains, and it's it's part of the mechanism of action, I guess, is that CBD is a powerful anti-inflammatory. So a lot of pain that people have does come from inflammation.
So is it something where it's not necessarily for obviously a wound or a cut, but it's more for like a sprain or something where you've got swollen elbow or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, for sure.
If I put it on, let's say my knee, I bump my knee pretty bad and it's bruised and so on. I rub it on and I feel that like it starts feeling better pretty quickly. How long does that feeling last? And does that mean that once it stops feeling that way, do I keep on reapplying?
Yeah, you definitely take it as needed, and it depends on your injury. It depends on how much you put on, and it depends on what you're doing throughout the day. So it's tough to say, but I just always say apply as needed, and don't be afraid to over apply the pain stick, because no one in the history of the world has ever overdosed off cannabis.
That's a good point. But now, all right. So the big magic question is this, and this is something that I know everyone's very curious about. Um, is it something where if an athlete, especially a professional athlete or someone who's getting tested uses, how does that show up on a test, or does it, or how's that shake out?
So it depends on what type of CBD you use. Essentially, on the market, there's three types of CBD. One is CBD isolate, and that's just basically where the cannabinoid CBD gets extracted from the plant, and that's all you're taking. But there's a lot of other chemical compounds or cannabinoids in the hemp plant, and if the product does contain all the cannabinoids, it's considered a full spectrum, and that's what ours is. Because ours is cold pressed, you're just going to get everything from the plant, and that's all the cannabinoids in the plant, including THC, which is what some professional athletes will be drug tested on. And then the other one is broad spectrum, which is most of the cannabinoids, but THC is left out. For the plant to work the best, I think having a full spectrum, I think, is important. All the cannabinoids work synergistically together in your body to produce what's called the entourage effect. And so that's just basically all the cannabinoids and chemical compounds working together to make your body run more efficiently. But there is a chance that it could take a drug test. You would have to take copious amounts of it.
Mm-hmm.
And because THC bonds to fat, if you aren't working out a lot, or you do have a little bit more body fat, you increase your risk of that. But I would just just kind of take it case by case.
And do you think, in your opinion, do you think some of the leagues will start being more flexible with allowing that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said before, there's a lot of fear around the plant, and about what it could and couldn't do, and that it is a drug. But when people, I think, become more knowledgeable about the plant and its benefits and understand it more, it's going to be more acceptable. I don't think it's a fad. I think it's here to stay. It's nature gave us this for a reason, and there's a lot of athletes now that are really pushing it through the sports and the leagues that they play in. I mean, even I just read a headline the other day that Gronkowski was really trying to, push it in the NFL. So I think it's all going up from here.
Yeah, I guess when you get a guy like Gronk pushing something, that the league listens a little bit. He's a piece of work. But so right now with your business with Rooted Athlete, how are you trying to grow it, or are you trying to, or I mean, what's the strategy right now?
Yeah, obviously trying to grow it, trying to make it as big as possible. I started this company to help people, so I'm trying to help as many people as I can. yeah, doing a lot of online sales, e-commerce, rootedathlete.com. That's my shameless plug.
Yeah.
And trying to get it in more stores. Yeah, that's the plan.
Are you able to get, can athletes endorse it? Let's say, I mean, there's some of the leagues that you said they test for this sort of thing, but there's got to be some that they don't, or it's not as important or something. But can you get right now some people to endorse it for you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I got most of the guys on the Red Bull Ice Cross tour using it right now, and they can definitely attest to it. I'm around athletes in a lot of pain a lot. So, and I think one of your recent guests, Zane Kakoa Schweitzer, yeah, pro surfer over there, can attest to it. I gave him a stick recently, and it was actually right before his competition in Long Beach, and where he injured his ankle. But he told me that it really helped him get back on the board that weekend. So
Yeah, Zane's a great guy, and it's interesting because he's a young guy, right? He's younger than you. He's young, definitely could be like my son practically, but he's a big voice in the surfing and the water sports community. And you're right. When someone like him, who's you think these guys can bounce back pretty quickly from injury, it's not always that easy. And if he's using your product and it's benefiting him, that's a great sounding board. But is it possible for what if you did get a guy like Gronk to talk about your product? I mean, that'd be kind of huge, right?
yeah, for sure. I think word of mouth is the best form of marketing you could have, but it's powerful when the athletes speak, but also you know through this journey, I've noticed that everyone's in some sort of pain, and I think just the regular people, even the people working 9 to 5's voice is just as powerful. And I had a guy message me the other day telling me that he got in a car accident in 2011. He hasn't felt normal since, and yeah, he started using my pain stick, and like he said I haven't felt normal since 2011. I've had people reach out to me saying, I've had night terrors, I haven't been able to sleep, and now I can sleep because I've been taking your CBD drops. And
Wow.
people saying that they used to miss work because of the pain that they're in, like nurses, even nurses, like with knee pain and things like that. So it's one case after another, and like these testimonials and just like text messages that people send me are just really powerful and really what make this journey that worthwhile.
One thing that I'm just going to throw it out there, and you can and do as you want. But one of the things I like to advise people like you who have their own companies and they're really trying to make an impact is, look, I'm a big fan of using LinkedIn of all things for great impact, because to me, I hope you're not listening, LinkedIn, but it's basically free advertising. It's basically, if you were to, for example, put a post up there with just a short, maybe a minute long video where you are holding your pain stick, your product, and you're rubbing it on your knee just like that and saying, hey folks, it's this easy. Your knee, your whether it's swelling because of joint issues or whatever it is, or you've gotten some sort of bruising or whatever it might be, this will help you this quickly. And then you maybe had just anybody else say, look, I'm a like Zane doing 10 seconds of like, I heard this during a competition and it feels great right away. You throw a minute video on there and you throw a little blurb that just simply says, super excited to be announcing, Rooted Athlete's new pain stick. This thing has immediate impact. Shoot me a note, leave some information below, whatever you want to do, but have a call to action. And then what you do is you post it, everyone in your network sees it, but then you also share it in different groups on LinkedIn that have 300,000 members. And you're providing a value to the community by talking about something that's helpful to them, right? So it's not pure sales. It's you're saying, look, this product can really help you recover faster. You really should check it out. And you'll be impressed with how many people just start following you, wanting to know more. You can start mixing in some fitness tips, like, here's some of the things that I like to do in the morning before I get going to, start doing some work, or here's how I like to train for ice cross, just simply doing 2 sets of squats and blah, 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 whatever. But if you mix in some education with your stories, and then you say, look, and the best thing to do if you suffered any sort of impact or injury during competition or any sort of sport, you got to get this sort of stick. This stuff really works. It's purely organic. It's not unhealthy for the body. And you start throwing it out there, you'll be amazed at how much interaction, how much engagement you have. It's one thing to be on Instagram or on Facebook or wherever, Snapchat or something, where you're posting live stories, but LinkedIn's a whole different audience, but it's a huge audience that to me is really untapped. And that might be something you consider at some point.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. And yeah, to any of the entrepreneurs out there are listening, or people, aspiring entrepreneurs, that we're in the biggest transfer of marketing power in the history of the world. It's the internet and social media has really leveled the playing field. And if you can put out a piece of content or information about your product or service, today, and the whole world is able to see it within seconds. So powerful stuff.
Right. You're absolutely right. So look, so speaking of that, I know you're obviously, as you mentioned before, but you're very into fitness, and as you said yourself, you're very cognizant of what goes into and out of your body, and also your how you like to stay in top fitness, top form. But why don't you? I'd love for you, someone like you. I don't want you to teach someone who's already a fitness trainer and buff like something. I want you to teach the guy that's me, who's sitting behind his desk or at a desk, at a computer for 8 hours a day. Give me a couple of things that I can do for just a couple of minutes, maybe while I'm on a phone call or I'm just in the middle of doing something that you believe. Look, for example, in my case, I'd like to lose a little bit of my gut, okay? I mean, when I was younger and I was really concerned about how I looked, I went to one of those doctors and I had a gut implant done. And then I'm joking about that, of course. No such thing. But yeah, I really want my gut to look bigger. Can you put some more in there? No, that was beer. But if I wanted to really start refining my core, how I look, what would you recommend? What kind of things can I do where I don't need to go to the gym for?
Yeah, I mean, I think people, kind of have this view in their mind of where they want to go, and it seems so unattainable. And so I always tell people to focus on progress, not perfection. And I really try to focus on this with anything I'm doing also. So I think people are like, I have to go on this crazy diet and, just cold turkey, like cut out this, cut out that. And it's just like small steps is what's going to get you there. And a lot of the things that I think will get people in better health and feeling better about themselves really don't take a lot of effort or, for example, just getting better sleep. And I know people are going to hear this and just be like, oh yeah, I get it. But like, no one's doing it. Like no one's putting it, getting, 8 hours of sleep, drinking more water, cutting out, processed sugar, processed foods, eating more vegetables. And then when it comes to exercising, if your goal is to run a marathon, start by running 1 mile or a half a mile or just walking around the block. Progress on I think Tony Robbins says this, like progress on your, goal is what actually makes you happy. It's not actually achieving it. It's just, every day doing a little bit to get you there. So, and one thing, like a lot of people are like, ask me, how do I get in shape? And when people ask this, I always basically, they want to lose fat and gain muscle. One of the best things for that is just sprinting. I feel like we're evolved to sprint, and that's one of the ways that you can get there. So I don't if you haven't sprinted in a while, don't go out and sprint right away. But like I said, start walking, start running, and then when you do get to sprinting, I think that's a really good efficient exercise. A lot of bang for your buck. Doesn't take that long and really.
It was funny, when you just said we were bred to sprint or whatever it was to sprint, I just pictured like the caveman being chased by the mammoth, and like that's when it started, like, oh crap, there's the mammoth again, but it's tough to sprint in those big giant woolly boots that they had. But anyway, that's what that's where Nike came along, obviously with their new Nike wool boot. But anyway, that's a whole other story. So, but if, for example, I can't like just start sprinting in my apartment here. So what can I do sitting behind my desk? Can I do some lunges, some squats, like with rubber band, the band stuff? What do you think I can do to really, while I'm here, just do some things? What would you recommend?
Yeah, it's just all comes down to movement, just don't sit or stand in one place at one time. The ranges of motion and strength you have, if you don't use them, you lose them. Our bodies are just incredibly efficient, and we'll prioritize from there. So, getting up, I think one of the things that we don't do, especially in our Western society, is get into squat position, and our bodies are really meant to get into this position. So if you're sitting in a desk all day and your legs aren't your knees aren't going past 90 degrees, then you're going to be losing some of that range of motion. And I think that's a lot of people have lower back pain, including myself. And I think that's a really good tip, just to try to spend time in the squat position. Just get up from your desk every once in a while, and instead of doing a hip hinge and lifting from your back, really live with the legs, not the back.
So, all right. So when I stop recording this episode, I'm going to start doing some squats, and we'll see. And I think you said in 2 weeks my gut will be gone, right? Is that what you said? Anyway, no, I'm kidding.
Progress, not perfection.
I believe that is what you said. Yeah. So, so right now today, what is the best way for? So if I wanted to, can I? By the way, can I invest in your company? Is that even available, or do I want to, or what do you think?
I appreciate your interest for sure. I've been bootstrapping this company from day one, and I'm just kind of taking it day by day. And when the time comes, and I've just been like, as an entrepreneur, just looking at indicators to move forward. And I would recommend that to any entrepreneur out there, that instead of just trying to make everything happen, really look at your company and make sure that you are looking at the indicators, because this limits the amount of risk going to the next step. So when the time comes that I do need funding, I'll keep you in mind for sure.
Well, don't keep me in mind. I don't have any money. But no, I'm saying if somebody out there wanted to, I got some money here and there somewhere. Anyway, so but no, that's a great answer. All right, so listen, we're going to jump to a little segment I like to call Hit Your Mark, and it's just a quick little chatty thing that I like to wrap up the episodes with. But if I'm in the top 100, so I mean, there needs to be, I'm guessing, is it something where every country gets maxed out with, they only get, let's say, 8 or 10 or 12 people that they can perform? I mean, can play, or I mean, what? How does that work?
Yeah, for ice cross downhill.
Yes.
On the tour, there's what they call ATSX 500, 1,000, and 250 races, and these are kind of based on the amount of points and how big the races are. The main events are worth more points, and you need invitations to. Some of the smaller races are open and that anyone can go to. But if you're going to a main event, every country gets at least two representatives there, and then they can send more based on your ranking. So if you have more guys in your country ranked in the top 64 people, then you get invitations from there.
And is it sort of similar to like the Olympics, where let's say you were born in Canada? I mean, or is it something where, like, if you have a father who's from Ecuador or a mother who's from whatever it is, you can race for that country? Or
yeah, so you need to be a citizen of the country,
okay.
be able to represent them. Some people have dual citizenship, so they decide what country that they would like to represent from there.
And I'll tell you why. I've mentioned this in a previous episode, but my mother was Egyptian, actually, born and raised in Egypt. And when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I really wanted to be in the Olympics. And I was thinking, oh man, I could be like the Egyptian ski team, because I promise you, there's nobody on the Egyptian ski team. And I think I could have pulled that off, but I never did. But then I was just thinking, maybe I could be like, I could do ice crosses, the guy from Egypt. But I guess I'm not a citizen, so there goes that plan. Damn it! I was plotting, and it just got shot down.
There is no team Egypt, but yeah, you would definitely need to be a citizen to represent.
All right, I'm not. So anyway, back to the Hit Your Mark. So, we haven't met in person, but you probably think I'm a really fit guy. And I do play hockey right now in a men's league, which is, it goes counter to what you wanted to do. But can I be in ice cross? What do you think?
Yeah, for sure, man. If you got the balls to go down the track, you can come to one of the open invitation races, and give it a shot.
Well, I think I definitely don't have the balls, but I think that if you blindfolded me, then I'd do it because I wouldn't be able to see what I was doing, and that just go like, holy crap. So is it basically one sheet of ice all the way down? Is that what it sort of is?
So there's two different types of tracks. There's natural ice and the man-made ice. Some of the smaller races are on ski hills, so the track is carved out and then iced down with fire hoses, and then the man-made ice is the track's built with wood and scaffolding, and then they put down a cooling system, and then they ice over that. So those are the two types.
Got it. I think I'd like to try it once, just once. Halfway up. Maybe a tenth of the way up.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, and then so right now today, aside from ice cross, do you have a favorite sport that you really enjoy watching?
I really like watching football, hockey, and I really like watching fighting, boxing, and UFC. Those are some of my favorites. Yeah.
Those guys could probably use your product pretty immediately, I would guess. In terms of hockey, so do you, if you go to a game, because look, a million years ago, I used to be in a rock band. I was in a band. And then I'd go watch another band play, and I'd be like antsy to go up. I really wanted to do that. If you watch a hockey game, do you get kind of like the pang of wanting to get back out there?
100%.
Yeah.
And this emotion was really strong when I stopped competing. I graduated from college, stopped competing in hockey, and I wasn't competing in anything. It was actually really tough to watch because it was almost just a reminder that you're not doing what you love.
Right. Give me a quick piece of advice right now that you'd give an athlete who is having to leave their sport and they're transitioning. What would you, but they don't know what to do next. What advice would you give them?
Well, I guess it depends on their goal, what they want to do. Do they want to still compete in a sport, or do they want to start their own business?
Well, how would let me put it in context a little bit. So let's say I've been playing hockey and, I've just been injured and it looks like it might be tough to come back from this injury, at least at the highest level, but I don't know what to do next. I don't know if I want to start a company or what would you tell somebody like me, like Mark, first thing you need to do is blank.
Yeah. The first thing you need to do, I just think, is start moving forward, and you'll figure it out from there. Start, like we said before, fail fast, succeed faster. So get out there at what you think you want to do and start going towards that goal. And, the faster you fail, the more lessons you're going to learn, and the closer you are that you are going to be to your goal from there. And I'd tell anyone that you're really never too old to start. And just with the resources we have right now, especially in 2019, it's no excuses.
Oh, you know what? Thank you for mentioning that, by the way, because I didn't start playing competitive hockey until I was 40.
There you go. Perfect example.
Thank you. Nice tee up. I like it. Well, look, listen, this has been awesome. You're a great guest. It's funny. I love having people on that are a little bit, I don't want to say off the beaten track in a bad way, but you're not obviously the traditional NHL player, NFL player. I've had a lot of these kind of people on the show and Olympians and so on, but you're in a sport that I think, could be getting big, and it'd be awesome if you made the Olympics. And on top of that, though, you've got a business that you're truly trying to make a positive impact. It's not where you're selling, something that's just a vanity thing. You've got a product that you're hopeful that it's really making a positive impact for anybody who uses it. So, you're just the ideal guest for the Make Your Mark podcast because you're truly making an impact. So, hey, Jack, I really appreciate you being on. I don't know why I was surprised, or I didn't realize that you knew Zane so well. And I thought that was pretty wild that, you know,
Well,
you were at this event that,
well,
you know, my assistant met you,
I've
and
only known him
small
for a
world.
couple. I've only known him for a couple months, but the time we had together was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, well, he's a great guy, and you remind me a lot of him in a few different ways. So that's pretty cool. But listen, best of luck with you and with your business and with the ice cross. Is there one last question though? Where can I watch you compete on TV anyway? If I
Right
can't
on.
go.
Yeah. So the main events are going to be live on Red Bull TV, and then I think that all some of the smaller ATSX races, 500s, are going to be on NBC Sports, from what I heard. And don't quote me on that. And then yeah, check me out on. I post a lot of race videos on my Instagram, and that's where I'm probably most active. So you guys can hit me up on there.
And what's your what are your social media handles, real quick?
Yeah, at Jack Schram, JackSchram.
Perfect. Well, look, you've been a great guest. Thanks so much for being on the Make Your Mark podcast. I really appreciate your time today, Jack. And enjoy the holidays. Have a lot of fun with your family. And we look forward to seeing you not just on the course, but on the shelves of GNC or everywhere else that Rooted Athlete will be found, right?
Right on, man. I appreciate it, and thanks for having me.
My pleasure. See ya.
All right, take care.
Thanks so much for joining us today on this episode of Make Your Mark podcast. The goal of the podcast is to help you find ways to make your mark, to succeed in life, and to jump past your competition. Be sure to leave me a review on iTunes and Stitcher, and subscribe to be the first to hear new episodes. If you're looking for ways to make your mark, send me an email, mark@markmoyer.com, and I'll get back to you right away. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.